Welcome to another episode of TMG People First Podcast. We are super excited to have Jade Green with us today. I met Jade at a Genius Network event and I thought, wow, she's got great energy. She'd be great on the podcast. So I reached out to her and she was gracious enough to spend some time with us. Jade is an entrepreneur, operator, and investor focusing on acquiring profitable businesses. She's based out of Aspen, Colorado. She works with scaling up coaches as a certified coach and is deeply committed to helping founders grow both their businesses and themselves. Her work sits at the intersection of leadership, acquisition strategy, and building aligned communities of high-performing operators. Jade, welcome to the TMG People First Podcast.
Wow, what a wonderful bio. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome,
really
Jade. This is fun.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yep.
What is the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning, Jade?
Well, being that I moved myself to Aspen, I usually wake up and think, is there any white stuff falling from the sky? And the answer this season is no.
No, not this year.
Yeah. So the next thing I think about is about growing businesses. I absolutely love learning. And so being that I get to coach people and I'm in all different areas all of the time, it's kind of like, what am I going to listen to while I paint my face in the morning? So is it the book that I'm reading and I'm listening to the audio of it, or is it a podcast, or what's going to serve and everything? So that's probably my next thing I think about is like, what am I going to press play on while I'm doing the artwork? Okay, so my history is from trailer and trauma to triumph. I literally grew up in a trailer park until I was 9. My dad was really entrepreneurial, so we originally lived in small trailer, and then I'm not quite sure how it happened, but he ended up managing the trailer park. And then somehow we started building trailers. So went from the small little ones that you tow behind the car to the mobile home parks, and developed a little mobile home park that was a part of it. So I saw my dad literally come from nothing and then go into this, and, nothing is a no, like we'll figure it out. And so I always had that mentality. I then lived with dad. Dad was a single parent from when I was 9, and we were we were broke. We went bankrupt after that and lived in a condemned Boy Scout hall. And, we just had to scrap it. So I worked all through school, helped raise my sisters. I had multiple jobs at all the time. And so obviously when I was 21, I accidentally ended up starting a company and had up to 52 contractors working for me. And then I accidentally acquired a dressmaking business and had that. So I did that for till I was till 24-ish, 25. And then I decided to move to the big smoke, and someone said I'd make a good recruiter. I'm like, what is this recruiter business you speak of? And they're like, you only have to make 100 cold calls a day, but you'll make $100,000 in your first year. And I'm like, someone going to pay me $100,000? I'm like, I can get told to F off 99 times a day for that. That's for sure. So I got into recruitment. I worked with a small agency. They told me that I couldn't have a job 10 times because I didn't have any relevant sales experience and I was a girl. I told them that if they didn't give me a job within the next 5 minutes after the 10th interview, I was going to work across the road at the competitor and steal all their clients and crush them. They had nothing to lose. They could just fire me, or within 2 years, I promised to be running them. 1 year, 11 months later, so I was the general manager, and we ended up building the company from, there was 4 of us when I started, to just over 50, 3 locations, made the Fast 100 in Australia, blah, blah. Went to work for the competitor after that, and then I went out on my own and had my own firm for 5 years. So that was kind of like the entrepreneurial journey. During that time, when I went out on my own, I did a course called Scalable and Saleable. I got accepted into university to do my master's, like my MBA, and the dean said to me, well, you'll be the youngest by about 30 years if you're in the exec group, and the only one that's an entrepreneur. Everyone else is like pale, stale, white male who has come through and they're in the accounting department. Or if you go into the main MBA, you'll be the only one that's English first language. Which one would you like? And I was like, I will take the entrepreneur course over here. So that was kind of like my first step into the real education piece of educating entrepreneurs. And the people who ran that course really liked me and my company. So they asked if they could create a growth fund and invest in my business and then have me support. So that was kind of like, how did I get into the teaching part? When I decided to hang up the pinstripe suit, because I used to wear the 3-piece vest, man suit with the double kick and the pocket kerchief, obviously, and the button-ups and the cufflinks. And so when I decided that pinstripes were no longer for me and I wanted to go back to wearing a swimsuit and surfing, I went and did a business course in Bali, which was a 2-week in-residence business accelerator for international businesses or people from all over who wanted to scale. And apparently I talked a lot. You might have picked that up. And they're like, do you want to come and teach this? I was like, wait, you're going to pay me to live in a resort in Bali and talk shit all day? Sounds horrible. So then I got certified in the behavior profiling system. I got certified in the business accelerator. I started teaching the course. I wanted to bring some woo into it, and I really loved Mind Valley. And so I got certified to teach Vishen Lakhiani's book based on a seminar based on his book, and was teaching that around the world as well, and kind of combined that. So now we're a business coach. Now we're also kind of a life coach for entrepreneurs and traveling the world talking shit, which seemed like a delicious idea. But I wasn't quite satisfied with those certifications, and I always want to grow. So I read this book. I'd met Stephen Kotler a few times, The Art of Impossible, and decided that's it. I need to also certify in teaching people flow state and peak performance. And so I did 3 of Stephen's courses to really understand the science behind peak performance and flow state. Then I bumped into Vern after a couple of years, and he's like, you know what we should do? We should team up on a course on Mind Valley for scale to your first million. And so I was like, well, I can't really teach that if I don't certify as a scaling up coach, and really, I don't feel integrity. So then I became a scaling up coach. And that's basically the last 10 years. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for sharing.
Geez, do you want to coach us? You seem like you're, certified in all these courses, and you have a vast background of traveling the world and meeting with so many people that are curious in improving, their life. I guess the question I would ask you is, that's been the last 10 years.
The coaching part was the last 10 years. There was 13 years of headhunting and recruitment. So that little story that I told you was 27 years worth of work.
27 years worth. Okay. That makes a little more sense to me. Now I will say, what was the hardest sales job you've had then in the last 27 years? Like, was there a time where you were just like, this is tough? Either the product was hard or the culture was tough. Like, what was some of the hardest sales parts that you had?
Headhunting. So when we first got into recruitment, like, it was, this does show the age. I shared a Regis office with Google when they first came to Australia, because they didn't have offices yet. And we laid on the floor and used those Yellow Pages books to make numbers to get your 100 people to call. And we'd reverse market the candidate. So we'd go in, we'd find who's advertising for jobs, and you find a candidate, you reverse market. That bit wasn't so hard, besides the being told to F off. But when the market switched, and like trying to get candidates was really hard. And now you're trying to cold call candidates and cold call talent and try and convince them that they should look at other jobs. And they've got 100 recruiters calling them a day. Getting told to F off by one of those is a little bit like, just give me one moment, I'll buy you a beer. Yeah. That was the hardest thing, because also finding people's personal numbers, or like terrifying, calling someone at their desk and trying to convince them to talk to you. Yeah, that was that was a grind.
I could see that. What were some of the attributes you looked for in, I guess, executives or people that you were recruiting? Because I ask recruiters this all the time, and I seem to get different answers, all the time. So what were you kind of what are the key attributes that you look for when it clicks really fast and you're like, oh, this is top talent. This is someone that is going to be I'm going to have a lot of people interested in this candidate.
I shortcut that by asking the leaders of companies what were the common things that they found in their top performers. Now, I mainly did sales and executive recruitment, so lots of sales side of things. And the one that stuck with me the most, that was the thread I pulled, was I was recruiting for Stryker Spinal. So they do the spinal implants. And I was like, you've got this random group. Like you allow me to put people in front of you that no one else in that business has ever let me put in front. And he's like, yeah, because I know that if I have someone that's played a high level sport, I can help them. I can get them where they've got to go because they've got intrinsic motivators and I don't have to put my foot on their ass and make them do shit. They're competitive. They want to better themselves. They take coaching. They drive themselves out of bed in the morning. Failure is not an option. So he always looked for super high performing in either sports or academia or something where they'd been competing, even if it was competing against themselves, because that showed the pattern of behavior that showed self-motivation.
Interesting. So when you're looking at the behavior, you had mentioned it earlier as well, Jade. What are some of the behavior characteristics you look at, not only that you took from recruiting, but into today's kind of scaling up coaching and the coaching that you're doing today? What behaviors are you seeing that consistently help, or that you look and see that have helped people you work with achieve their scaling objectives?
The thing that I just heard then was curiosity. So when people stay curious, they're more likely to learn and to apply things and to take a risk at trying it, and they don't get stagnant. So that curious nature, if you can try and question to understand curiosity and level of curiosity, like, do they read physical books or do they listen? Like maybe you're not, like some people are dyslexic and the reading thing's difficult. So like, do they listen to podcasts? Do they have other interests? Like, or are they single laned? So when we can look at someone that's got curiosities in area, it really does show an ability to grow. And if they don't have that, like it's kind of goes back to that Carol Dweck, like
Fixed mindset, right?
fixed or growth mindset.
I love that. We talk a lot about curiosity here, and we also talk about stagnation. Like, we think stagnation is worse than failure because failure can give you clarity. Failure has a villain, and that stagnation can be tough. You can be confused, and I love the curiosity aspect that you just brought up.
Stagnation, complacency, like when we're complacent, or have you heard of the beta paradox? You want to do something, but there's not actually enough pain to force you to do it. Like almost like sunk cost. You're like, yeah, I don't want to, like, I literally just had this conversation with one of my team members because her assistant has picked up another client. We only had her working 10 hours a week and the other client can do 40 hours a week. And I'm like, you got to let her go. She cannot do her best work when she's trying to do 50 hours on different time zones. Like, she's like, yeah, but I've spent so much time. And I'm like, it's going to kill you. I'm like, don't wait till it's till she's completely dropped the ball and it's cost a lot of heartache. We just need to move on, right? Don't wait for that pain that forces you, the truck to hit you, the wife to leave you, to be in action. So that's the stagnation can kind of sit in there because there's just not enough push or pull to make you take the next step.
It's just true.
So there's just not enough pain to move.
Yep.
But also, like, sometimes not moving is not painful either.
Right. But you've got to get to the point that's the issue. So I tell a story of like my complacency when I realized I was in complacency. I lived in my beautiful ivory tower. It was literally a 20-story ivory tower with 280-degree water views. And the biggest annoyance I had in my life was the fucking dolphin that would, like, in the morning, I'm trying to dolphin. Please, settle down. I'm going to have to sleep with my door closed. And I was like, I have a pretty darn good life up in here. And then I realized, oh shit, I have a pretty darn good life up in here. And good is the enemy of great. So I stuck all my shit in storage and went to a summit called Summit at Sea. And now I live in America. In Aspen, no less.
You are in Aspen. I mean, it could be worse. Oh, that's so
What
funny.
keeps you curious right now, Jade? What's driving your curiosity today?
So, well, what's really driving my curiosity today is now we're buying a dude ranch, and I was like, I thought this was a piss take. I'm like, a, they don't call it. It's not really a dude ranch. Like, no, really, since 1931, they've been called dude ranches. And I'm like, that's hilarious. I love it. I mean, so I need to learn how to make a profitable dude ranch.
So tell us about this dude ranch. How big? How big is it? Does it come with horses? Does it come with cows? Like, what are we talking about here?
138 acres. That is the biggest neighbor is the Boy Scouts, which have 800 acres, but we border the Roosevelt Forest, which has 800,000 acres, which we have a permit to ride into and do activities on.
Cool.
And across the road used to be the biggest Girl Scout, and it's now owned by Denver University. So, like, we're in this cool area. We can have 24 guests. And then we have bunkhouses for the wranglers and the staff and all of that as well. So, yeah, so learning and 38 horses. I've never owned a horse. Well, no, sorry, I have owned a horse. We rescued it from the glue factory, but it doesn't really count as what this is. So there's a big learning curve there. But what my curiosity for that is specifically designing experiences that help people step out of their everyday life, disconnect from the digital, get reconnected to self to increase flow. So this all goes back to, I keep pointing to my book because I run a book club, and we're reading this book at the moment as the group read for Art of Impossible, and active recovery, and how more flow predicates flow, and the importance and how nature can be such a huge thing for stopping dementia, creating creativity, the pattern recognition, like the energy. There's like all of these things is why I ended up buying a dude ranch when I thought I was going to buy a valve company that didn't freeze. Makes sense, right? So flow state is, for me, and by definition of the book as well, the most ultimate state you can be in for peak performance. So because you have all of the positive chemicals go run, like it's the only time that you get all of the chemicals working together at once. The ability to have the hyper focus connected to something outside of yourself, time expands or contracts to suit the situation. And you're so much in alignment with self and source that you can get your best work done faster. And because of the chemicals like dopamine and norepinephrine and serotonin and oxytocin and all that, you get a giant high. So it's the most elated and connected that you can feel.
I love
the
it.
proverbial zone. You're in the
zone. So like jazz musicians call it in the pocket, right? You're a sports person, you're in the zone, like you're on point.
That's fascinating. When you're looking at businesses today, when you're looking at buying businesses or helping people buy businesses, what are the key characteristics you're looking for in the business and in the people?
Oh, well, hard answer, because I always start with what is the person who's doing that trying to achieve, or what is, like, if I'm working with someone who's looking to scale their business, I'm like, why? What does done look like? What are the motivators? And have you really thought about how that impacts your life? So when we came to buy the Dude Ranch, it really worked for us because my partner has been in the ski industry for 25 years as a CFO and in operations, seasonal hospitality destination places, right? That's his wheelhouse on the back end. Mine, I've said for the last 10 years, I wanted to have 5 flow facilities around the world that combine adventure with teaching business. I'm like, ta-da, right? So that answer is going to be so specific to the individual who's going to lead that. So that's a hard one to answer. And also then the appetite of what, choose your hard. You're never really going to buy something that's a perfectly well-oiled machine, right? Unless you're just rolling things up and you've got stupid money and you're taking out the competition and you just want to take them out. But most of us are buying some sort of problem. So you've got to choose your hard and choose your skill set and match that. Does that kind of answer the question?
Makes sense to me. You talked about peak performance, and here we talk a lot about high-performing teams, and you have a lot of experience with high-performing teams. Tell us, what are you think some components of how you can stay aligned in such a chaotic world?
Yeah. So, everyone's heard vision, mission, values, and have your BHAG, and I hate that crap terms. So I really like to use different language because people have a preconceived notion of what that means. And I also believe that you have no right to tell anyone what they value. And you see lots of examples around the world where someone has Christian values, but then over here, they're doing something bad, right? So there's some issues in there. So I much prefer to use things like principles, so we can revert to first principles and to the standards that we need to uphold to be able to live those principles, which then roll up into our purpose. So I much prefer to go, what is the purpose of this organization? Why do we exist? That's our North Star. What is the mission? How are we going to get there? Then what are we obsessed about? So they're like our core metrics that we'd be going after, and they will move all the time. And I like shorter ones. I love how Ben Hardy talks about a 3-year impossible goal. So a 3-year obsession. And then what's the first principles we need to live by to be able to achieve those? And then what's the standards we have to uphold to be able to do that? So once you've got that and that real clarity, you've got to, I refer to lots of books, right? So Ben Horowitz's book, What You Do Is Who You Are. Whatever the leadership team needs to design that and choose those and the language in what they can actually model every single day. So I had a client who wanted to have, everyone wants to have trust and integrity and honesty, and you're like, give me a cookie cutter, right? And I'm like, okay, I get you want to say that. The problem is, I hear you almost every time I'm in there tell your assistant to lie to someone who's just called and tell them you're in a meeting or you're out of the office or XYZ. Where's your honesty, integrity? He's like, oh, but they're white lies. They're still a fucking lie, mate, right? So don't have something that you aren't going to actually be able to live, breathe, and model every day. Now you go, okay, why is that important? Well, what we want is this. And you go, okay, well, what is that really, what is the end goal we're trying to get to? And is there better language? And that's why I like principles, first principles versus like a statement or a word like honesty, integrity. Because once you can actually build that based on how someone's going to show up, then there is they can see the alignment. And now we can hire for it. We can interview for it. We can create KPIs around it. When we do, I don't like performance reviews. I call them mission reflection sessions. We can go, okay, are you doing these behaviors to show you're in alignment with what we are and why we exist?
I like that because everybody thinks they're a good teammate. I've never heard an employee say, yeah, I'm just not a very good teammate. But really the ones that are aligned and are attaching to the direction of the company seem to be really good teammates, and they seem to be in alignment. But Jason, do you have any thoughts about that? She brought up, clarity a few times and alignment. I know we like that right now.
We do. We talk a lot about it. We also talk about it in terms of clarity being kind, clarity being being helping with alignment. Because I think it's difficult to achieve alignment without clarity.
Yeah.
If you can't paint clearly what done looks like with all the colors in the box, how the hell is someone going to be aligned?
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then trying to drive value. So we talk a lot about that as well, coming from clarity and alignment. So when you think of value, Jade, what's your perception of value, and then creating that value for a client or for a business?
Mm-hmm. So what I heard there, I instantly jumped to valuation. The number one job of a CEO is to drive valuation, whether you want to sell the business, raise capital, or just have enough cash to spread around. So is that the angle of value that we're going, or just adding value to the team in general?
I think I guess a couple of things. One is the perceived value of the employees, the team, so one, and then the value the client engages with your team to actually work together, right? Because there's values perceived from both sides.
Yeah. And again, I think you have to clearly state what the job to be done is to be able to assess whether someone's adding value or not, or whether they're detracting from it. So being able to go, what does success look like? What does done look like? And then understanding where each person fits in that is really important. So what I've found with teams that have had problems where the client might feel like they're not getting the value they're paying for, they're like, I pay you all this money and I don't know what you guys are doing over there, right? We look at it and we go, where's there friction in the team? Where's the flow blocked that's causing the client not to feel like they're getting what they're paying for, or that, you know, you're doing a good job? And we look at the handoffs. And what's really important is talking through each person in terms of where they sit in a process and what happens when they don't hold up their end of the deal. What's the consequence and the knock-on effect of you dropping the ball? So if you just, you know, you don't get to, I use a mortgage broker client of mine as an example. They have distributed teams and everything. And, you know, if someone doesn't get through a certain review of the paperwork that day, then it may not get to the next person the next day, and then it may not go down. And then that one thing could have a 5-day effect on somebody getting their mortgage approved. And so, but the team doesn't necessarily understand how much value they add to the process, because all they're doing is checking the contract. So they don't see why it's a big deal if they leave it, like they don't do it today and they just get to it tomorrow morning, but they're on different time zones. And now the other person's in meetings all day. They didn't see the cascading decision and the cascading dominoes of that. So when they understand and you show them what value they're bringing to the process, no matter where it is, they can take ownership over it and pride. And then they rise to the occasion and they want to add, usually if they're an A player or want to be an A player, they want to add more value. Does that answer it? I'm not sure if I'm...
There's a lot of really, really good nuggets in there, because you talked about how value can be blocked. And that happens a lot in our business, where even if the value is clear, decisions stall. Even if value is clear, teams don't move at the speed they need to. And you just emphasized this, and I do want to stay on value a little bit, and then we can wrap up, Jason. But value is always in motion. So something that you may value today, you may not value, in 5 months. You may say, I don't want to be in flow. I'm killing it. I don't value that. Well, then when you're stagnant and you're depressed and you're looking for something new, and all of a sudden you're at your dude ranch, or you're feeling flow state, or you're getting coached, you're like, wow, where has this been my whole life, right? Yeah. And so value is constantly in motion. It's not static. It's not a title. It's not a slide deck. And so being able to articulate that, like you just mentioned, like I've had clients upset with me and they never told me.
Yes.
And I thought I was just grading my own papers, giving myself an A+, right? And you need to be able to articulate. It needs to be quantified and felt, this concept of value. And value is going to be even more massive as we go into AI and digital. It's like, what value are you providing? It needs to be qualitative and quantitative, really.
And what's important to the person. So this is why I freak out a lot of people. I use love languages with teams. And they're like, that's weird. And I'm like, not when you think about it. It's just, how do you feel valued, right? So if you're throwing money at a salesperson and like, but we give huge commissions. I don't understand why they're not like getting after it every day, because we give them huge commissions. Well, gifts is their lowest language. Physical touch is their number one primary language. And you never give them a physical pat on the back or a fist bump or a high five when they get a deal. And they're just jonesing for that high five. Yeah. You'll get more out of them from that. Words of affirmation. If you know that, send a public company-wide email. Your clients are the same, right? If you can understand what they value, maybe it's communication. Like you might think you're doing them a favor because you're just head down, ass up, getting the stuff done and getting it done fast. But that might create a sense of insecurity for them because they can't hear it, and they need to have the communication is more important, the relationship's more important. So being able to ask them up front, how do you perceive value? What's important to you? Using different language. What's important to you? How do you like to operate? What's going to make you feel safe in this? How will I know that we've done a good job for you? And you just let them talk, and you'll hear the touch, feel, say, etc. time, and then you'll get a good understanding of how you need to deal with them.
So Guff, that aligns with, I mean, a lot of things you talk about is removing the friction.
Yeah.
Right. Detaching from certain elements. I mean, the ability to communicate that value and how people receive it ultimately can speed up the.
I think value needs to be guided. I think you need to reveal it. I think you need to peel back layers. Like you brought up Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and he talks about the Michelangelo's David. And he says, hey, the marble was already there. The masterpiece was underneath it. He didn't add more marble to it. He stripped it away and then reinforced it. And so I totally agree. I could talk about value all day because I'm just fascinated in decision-making that even when value is clear, decisions still stall. And so what needs to happen is we need to guide value to its rightful place. So whoever has more value wins. And, but that doesn't happen all the time with humans, unfortunately.
No. So, these things with their own thoughts.
Yes, exactly. What are they doing? So Jade, where can people find you? Who's your ideal client? Who do you want to reach out to you? And how can we help, get you to your people?
Oh, amazing. So nearly all of my social media is the Jade Green. So LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me. It's where I try to share my best work and thoughts there and literally give away whatever I can to help people be better. So I'd say that's the best place to start, or website is thejadegreen.com. So that's probably where to find me. My ideal client, 2 types. Now let's go with just the one. I really want to work with founders and business leaders who want to create a workplace that people turn up to and fucking love turning up to every single day, and they want to go with, and they can recognize that they need to make some shifts and willing to invest in their people, and know that if they invest in the people, that they will be able to 10x their businesses. So I want people who want to run fast and run far, but know that they need a coach. Like I come from an athletic background and sports. So like coaching to me is so important, like willing to have an expert go, you know what? You're not throwing that ball properly because your elbow's out to the side, not down. Same thing in business. You're not getting your team going where you're at because you're talking to them the wrong way. So people who want that help, and my sweet spot is ones that want to like 10x. So they want to run fast and they need to grow quickly with people. And people is the biggest problem they're facing.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for stopping by. Anything else, Jason, for
one closing question, Jade? One closing question. You're 14, you have $20, and it's Friday night. What are you doing?
Geez, if I had $20 at 14, I'd be stoked. Our rent was $25 a week back then, so
$10. You have $10.
This is a terrible answer because I'll give you the real answer from back then. I grew up in Australia and we drink a lot, so all of my friends were drinking cheap wine. And I actually worked so that I could buy high quality rum. And so if it was Friday night and I had $20, I would be
At age 14?
But that's the real answer.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Or a lift. We didn't have a car, or a lift to the beach so that I could go surfing.
There you go. Super cool.
Well, hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jade, for stopping by the TMG People First podcast. I just enjoyed it, your energy, your journey, and our listeners will get a tremendous amount of value from the words and wisdom you shared.
Well, I'm super appreciative that you had me on the show and you made Zoom work for me. So
there you go.
Appreciate it. Thank you.